Hey team, how we doing? Hello, hello, hello. Let's make sure that everything is going live. We should be good to go. There we go. Awesome. Hey guys, how you doing? Mike here. Let me bring up a banner here. Basically, what I want to talk about today is a pretty broad topic, but it's more around. No, it's not a copywriting masterclass. Three things that your business is going to need going forward to double. Sorry, this is me being very badly organized. There we are. Three things your business needs to double. Predominantly, we're looking at revenue, and it's not necessarily like an end of year thing or a beginning of year thing. These are just the three things we need to have in place. So if you're watching this live, go ahead and put in the comments, hello, hey, whatever, and I will say hello to you and respond because I can see it. And if you're watching the replay, make sure to hit one of the comments down below as well and tell me whether this was useful, whether you found it interesting or not, and your biggest takeaway. And it always helps to like, share, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. There we go. No, I want this one. There we go. So what we're looking at is basically the three things that tend to prevent businesses doubling their revenue. So if we have this as a triangle, the goal is to 2x our income. And I like to focus on monthly, so per month. And what we're predominantly going to be focusing on here is the three things that tend to prevent that from happening. This is what I have seen having worked with, thousands of agencies, hundreds going through our program, events, all the book sales, the software, all of this, us doing it for our agencies, and other multiple businesses. So the first thing that tends to kind of drag people down is very basically overwhelm. Now, I'm going to take a guess. Let's say, for example, that you are currently at 25,000 a month, which is a pretty healthy sum. It's not massive, but it's healthy enough to be starting with. And our goal is to get you therefore to 50. Now, 50 is then over 500,000, right? That's a big leap. But most businesses have this in them already if you are already over this stage. What overwhelm refers to is overwhelm in three specific areas. Typically, communication. So you have too many people communicating with you. Either your team are communicating with you too much. Maybe instead of having one to-do list, you now have 5 to-do lists because you're basically checking over all of their work. You probably have too many products or services that you are trying to sell. And you have an overwhelm of advice. Now, products could also count as things like your niche. Maybe you're trying to service too many markets. You might disagree with me, but 9 times out of 10, when we've really dug into this, one of the biggest bottlenecks holding people back from doubling their revenue is they're trying to serve way too many markets with way too many things. So you have overwhelmed communication, and this could be clients as well. Like you're at the center of all decision making. You have too many products or too many niches. You're trying to basically capture too many opportunities, and you probably have too much advice coming in. Maybe you've got a couple of coaches, you've got dickheads like me on YouTube telling you how to run your business, you've got books, you've got people inside your business, you've got family members, you've got customers. There's a lot of information coming in, and there's also, you have to disseminate a lot of information going out. This feeling of overwhelm is one of the biggest roadblocks to doubling your revenue, and it will kill you and your business very slowly and very painfully. I'm going to move my screen down. There we go. There we go. The second thing that we see is businesses tend to have something called an income ceiling built in. Now, if I was to be almost philosophical about this, this is based around the concept of whatever has got you to 25,000 is now going to keep you at 25,000. Whatever got you to 10,000 is going to keep you at 10,000. Whatever got you to 1 million is going to keep you to 1 million. Whatever keeps you safe keeps you stuck. And this is kind of the double-edged sword of processes and systems and these kind of methodologies that we use in these models. Is while they tend to provide the platform to help you get to a certain level, they also tend to be the platform that helps you stay at a certain level. This can be really counterintuitive to hear and see. What this typically means is that, first of all, if you don't work, as in you, the owner, your business doesn't make any money. So your income is tied to you, which means that if you take time off, if you go away, if you're on holiday, or if you aren't able to work, or if you don't do any of the sales work, or if you don't do any of the delivery and you don't make any money, that's a real big problem. It's pretty typical, certainly around this price point, but even businesses I know of that are doing 2 million a year, if they take time off, their business doesn't make money. If the income is tied to you, you've probably hit an income ceiling. And the other aspect is, as I mentioned, there are models that you're using right now that have basically managed to get you to whatever level you're at, but they're also keeping you there right now. And we need to make sure that we can put something in place that allows you to grow past that. I think what a lot of people think they do inside their business is install or implement this kind of like scalable business model, and they have this idea that, well, if I put this model in now, it means that I can keep growing my business past whatever I am at the moment, but the model won't have to change. And the problem is that's just not true. Anything you implement in your business at some point is by definition going to have an income ceiling, and usually that income ceiling is responsible. You were able to hit that ceiling because of the models and systems you had in place. But once you hit that ceiling, you need to start looking at different models. So that's the second piece. So the first one is overwhelm. That's what's preventing you. The second one is hitting an income ceiling. The models that you've put in place are actually the ones that are keeping you there. And the third and final one is, pretty frankly, uncomfortable with sales. Now, a lot of people are fine with having conversations, but they say, oh, I don't like to do anything too salesy, which is always interesting to me, because you probably shouldn't be running a business if you don't like to do that. But this is split into a few different areas. First of all, pricing. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the idea of raising their prices or charging more money for what they are already doing. If you are already working with a customer and they're spending $1,000 a month with you, it can seem like, well, how in the hell am I going to justify jumping it up to $2,000 a month? That's a real big problem. And the other piece is based around the concept of qualification to pitch and close. A lot of businesses rely on a methodology, and this kind of leans a little bit into this income ceiling of having a conversation, doing a 2-hour discovery call, finding out all their different bits and pieces, then going away and saying, yeah, we'll write a proposal, and then going away and writing a proposal that's all custom spec. All of that can be more harmful for your agency than good. So uncomfortable with selling, either modern selling practices, just selling in general, the idea of actually you just want to do the work. You don't necessarily want to pitch. Maybe you don't like the idea of being rejected. You're uncomfortable with raising your prices or charging higher prices. And also that kind of, you don't necessarily have a standardized sales process to be able to look towards your pipeline or your CRM and saying, I know exactly who I'm going to sell to today, or how I'm going to get those next people over the line. So those three things there are essentially what is preventing you from doubling your revenue. And the way to kind of fix this is, first of all, to simplify. We have a process at Seven Figure Freedom where we basically take whatever it is you're working on and we simplify it down to the things that are going to get you to $1 million, to $2 million, to 4, and so on and so forth. Simplification is the art of taking things away. Most businesses feel that in order to double their revenue, they need to start adding processes in and adding things. That is not the case. I want you to start removing lines of communication. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but removing over-reliance on you, removing decision-making, removing products, removing niches, removing the amount of advice that you take, and massively slimming down what is going into the business. We can always start adding things back in, but 9 times out of 10, we have found that actually removing things is the first thing we want you to start doing. The second piece around the income ceiling is systemize. Now, while I mentioned that the models that you put in place are models and frameworks that don't scale, that's true, but we need to then look at, well, what is the next system we need to put in place? Most people don't have a system though, and this is kind of the problem is most of you don't have like a product framework or a hierarchy. Most of you don't have anything standardized that your team are working from and your customers are working from. Most of you don't have a systemized process for approaching and closing and qualifying leads. You're kind of just doing it ad hoc or referrals that are coming in. There are 3 particular areas that we need to really focus in on and are systemizing. I'll talk about that kind of in another video. And the final piece is a sales process. Of all of these, this is the one that people think will have the biggest impact, but it only has a big impact when the business is simplified and we have a decent system to be able to sell to the customer. Systemize as well is a lot about like, you shouldn't be doing custom work, right? For the majority of the prices that you guys are charging, you shouldn't be doing custom work. $25,000, $50,000, that should be productized. You should be fairly standardized. Even up to $100,000 a year or a project should be really, really, really standardized. Custom and bespoke work should maybe come in around 6 figures to do so. You need to have standardized processes and standardized products that you're offering. And it needs to be the same with your sales process. Most agencies find that their qualification calls turn into free 2-hour-long coaching calls, and those free 2-hour-long coaching calls, they think they're giving value, and the people are like, the agency owners all the time say, yeah, I give loads of value on these calls, and maybe they'll see so much value in working with me that they'll want to work with me. And what ends up happening is the person kind of gets enough to be getting on with, and they move on. And the other aspect is people say, I constantly haven't got the budget, or they have to refer to their partners and check in with people. We have a sales process, and you need to have a sales process in place that qualifies people out immediately and positions you as the prize and positions you as the person that people should be working with, as opposed to you trying to demonstrate how valuable you are. This is through qualification, the overall pitch. You also don't need a proposal. We sell products for 50, 60 grand. Admittedly, it's a 12-month engagement, but that is the price. And we don't have proposals. We have a couple of like contracts, but they only get to sign those after they've paid the deposit, paid their first month. We have a checkout page. There's an enormous amount that can be done with a sales process when you put a sales process in place, especially around qualification. If you want to go through this, we can do that. We have a kind of a brainstorming call that you can apply for, that we tend to run one-on-one. If you head over to sellyourservice.co.uk/freedom, you can actually book that in completely for free. I've got a link here. Yeah, here we go. This one here. So if you do want to go through this and see where your weak spots are, you can go ahead and try that out. But in the meantime, the first thing I think you guys need to be thinking about is stripping things away. You need to be doing less. The path to growing your revenue is not by adding services or adding products. It's a huge misnomer and a huge mistake. You probably need to be at removing things. And until we've removed everything down to its absolute core, then we won't be adding things in just for the sake of it. We need something that's systemized, that you are going to be selling to your customers, that you would be able to pitch and draw out in your sleep. That's also going to be the framework that your team are going to be working off. And from a sales perspective, we need to have a standardized sales process for qualifying people, pitching them, closing them, converting them. It doesn't need to have a proposal. You don't need to give any coaching calls. You don't need discovery calls or anything like that. That's how you're going to be working through that. And we have obviously got tons of examples. If you head to sellyourservice.co.uk /stories. You can see all of the stories of businesses where we've either doubled their revenue or sometimes more, anywhere from between 45 to 90 days. So you can go ahead and check that out and see that we've done it all before. Awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you do have any questions, please, by all means, put them into the comments. Other than that, I will see you in another video. Have courage, commit, and take action. Bye, guys.